Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a very quick shout out to all of those of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out to Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvault, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chow Yun Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Wayne Foster, Edwin Johnson, Felix Hung, Fireball X, Godrockin, Jeranism, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Life Is Short, Matt, Naibai, Tar Craig, Reinhardt, Rene, Sally Bellis, Sam Hine, Skeptic936, Texas Mike, The Flat Earth, Sun, Moon and Zodiac Clock app, theflatearthchannel.com, Tina Baker, Tom Hawkins, and that's pretty much it. Thank you very much indeed to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we do have a few people already chatting away in the G+ Hangout, so I'm going to raise the mic on them and you can enjoy the dulcet tones while I set it for the first live show.
So this is what it looks like when you first bring it up.
Yeah, so halfway.
Yeah, the gravity's halfway. They got the temperature like at 30.
Okay, why don't they have a gradient?
Well, it kind of does if you look at it. It's kind of there's somewhat of a gradient, but again, it doesn't matter. Eventually, even if you sit here and just let this run on its own,
dissipate. Yeah,
it all dissipates with gravity even in play. This is their own model. This is their own simulator.
Paul, I'm trying to lead you here.
Okay.
So they don't have a gradient, a dedicated gradient. They don't have a container, but they have a gravity slider, right?
Right.
Okay, so no gradient slider, no way to increase or decrease gradient, no container slider showing this with a container or without a container. But they do have one for gravity, and yet they will also say gravity is the strongest where?
At the surface.
Well, they don't have that either, do they?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a gradient out. It doesn't say. It doesn't show that. I don't know if it is or not.
Well, I could tell because
but aren't they showing with this? Aren't they showing with this the entropy is just much stronger than their gravity anyway?
Well, entropy. Well, go ahead. Go ahead, 10th man.
Well, the gravity, which doesn't exist because it's a non-force force from the bending of space-time, so we're deep inside the big in the fallacy here. But their gravity is a non-force that's stronger non-force at ground level.
Right. So
50th million, right? 50 millionth. The guy yesterday who was debating Nathan said it's really a weak force. It's not even strong at all.
Well, here, if you can watch, see this number right here? It says particles near. This is measuring. I don't know if it's measuring all these, how close they are. But if you watch the number, it does fluctuate, but it eventually starts to work. The number starts to go down. It's slow. It's a slow process, but it's still eventually the number will go down, which is measuring how many particles are close to the blue circle. But it starts to go down. See, like there, it's already gone down some.
What's the temperature? What's the temperature saying?
Just right here. It's just, I don't know what that temperature, what the value is. If it's Kelvin, it might be 263, 64 degrees Kelvin. I'm not sure how he did this. I haven't really played with it. But if you crank that up, of course, the particles go even faster, disperse out. If you take the planet heat here and you crank it up, the same thing happens. So, and if you go up here to starting speed, if you crank this up, which I think this is deceptive on the part of them because gas particles are supposed to be moving at high rate of speed. So if you crank that up, it happens immediately. The particles disperse really even faster. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Do it. Let's see it.
Oh,
you go.
Okay. So if I crank it up.
Shout out to David Rakier Gafford for smashing the super chat before the show starts.
Well,
and even I even did this. I did a starting speed 0, and it's just letting gravity do its thing, and it did the same thing.
Hang on. Letting simulator do its thing. Gravity doesn't exist. See, this whole thing is to get us to talk about gravity and gravity doing its thing. And we're going to call it out right now. This is a phony simulator. There's no such thing as gravity. So when you say we're going to let gravity do its thing, we're playing within their begging the question fallacy. There is no gravity even according to them. It's a non-force force.
No, I got it. It's just the only reason I'm bringing this up is this their own model debunks itself.
Right, but why did they put their own model to debunk itself?
Oh, so it could be talking about it.
Thank you. Here we go. That's stupid altogether.
I know.
Let's turn over the shoe and say it's a phenomena. It's a hypothesis. I'm going to turn over the shoe. It's my hypothesis. No, this is how they do it. They have to do it this way. We don't have to fall for it, though.
I was thinking about this, even in there. I know we're begging the question still, but if the Earth is spinning and the surface of the Earth is uneven, which means it's not perfectly smooth, and it's moving at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, a gas particle is elastic, which means it gives back the same amount of, like when it hits, the same amount of force is pushed back on itself. The uneven surface of the planet would eventually cause all the air to disperse out into space because it's spinning. Because as it collides, it's going to ricochet and go out. So entropy has to be in place. So entropy would increase no matter what, because even the spin of the Earth would cause entropy to increase.
You're doing it again, but you.
I know.
But at least you stated it at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. Just put your phony ball away.
I know.
Hard to get every single disclaimer in every single time you're trying to make an example on their behalf or why their example doesn't work with their example. You know, you're always going to have somebody say, well, it just sounds like you're begging the question for them or whatever. You know, I'm the most guilty of doing it or calling people out for it, but just you can get to the point where, like me at the moment, you end up with a string of disclaimers just to make one point.
True,
but necessary.
Well, and originally my initial point was their own model debunks itself. That's what I came up with. Their own model debunks itself.
Well, they've had years and years to. You said something interesting, Nathan, yesterday. I don't know if it was it was yesterday's live show or when I went back trying to find that piece on the shoe that I heard it. But I heard something yesterday that, and let me do my best to rephrase it and see if it jogs your memory. You said, I don't know how they do it, but they always seem to do it and get us in this. Then I lost it there. It was
false dichotomy. False dichotomy.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, expand on that, please.
Sure. So every time we talk about the sky vacuum, the first attack from my opponent, with me specifically, will be words to the effect of, you say there's a snow globe, you say there's a dome, you say the sky is X. And I immediately turn around and say, I make no claims in regards to the sky. I can just tell you why it's not a vacuum. Now, they have a big problem with that, because what they want is to hold me, personally, just some dude, Nathan Oakley, who the hell am I to tell you what the sky is? Oh, I'm not. But they want me to, so that they can pull that to pieces with a false dichotomy. So they'll hold up their globe and what they say the sky is, and their fundamentalist religious belief of a second law of thermodynamics violation, and then they'll compare it to what I say the sky is. And the winner is our world. Well, no, that's a false dichotomy. So to take that away from them in the first instance, I need make no claim in regards to what the sky is. The logical inference is normally, not always, but sort of 60-70% of the time asserted by my opponent anyway. Well, that would logically mean that there's a dome, or that would logically mean that there's a container. And you go, well, yeah, you saying that is perfectly justified and logical, based on the necessary antecedent to have the gas pressure we experience. But that doesn't mean I have to assert what the sky is. It just means it's not a vacuum. So I don't let them have the false dichotomy. The same applies to a model. Oh, well, what's your model then? Look, you say the globe model doesn't work. Well, that's just a reification fallacy. I don't need to provide you an alternative model so you can crap all over my model that's not right. I'm crapping all over yours. And there is no alternative that's being offered up, just your model being crapped all over, and they really don't like it. They want a false dichotomy so that the winner will be their model because it's got the most answers. And like Jibby Jedi said the other day, well, so's a cheating husband, got lots of answers. So what?
Well said.
Got a question for
You
you.
also-
Well, I laughed today.
You laughed today?
So I laughed today on the chats. Nathan Oakley live.
On the shoe?
Getting a
The
coffee.
guys talking about Big Bang. Now, reality just violates the first law of thermodynamics. And they asked for a citation. And I gave them a mathematical construct citation. And then they started crying maths. But the whole U is maths. But yeah.
I'm not following you. Maybe your mic is kind of breaking and I'm not following what you're saying. Try again, please. Did you all get that, or is it just me?
Yeah, I also didn't hear that very well either, 10th man.
Something about... Okay, he's probably... No, he's on.
Can you guys hear me in Discord all right?
I do.
Can I get a mic check from Discord?
I could hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Flatzer, where'd you go?
I'm sorry, you're cutting in and out. Are you talking to Flatzoid or me?
Flatzoid. I wonder where he went.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's
not
might
on
be trying to
Discord.
correct the mic issue.
So I'm definitely one of the bigger fans of the show. Absolutely love it. Never miss an episode. And I had a question for Nathan whenever he happens to get here. I believe yesterday he said that there's like over 2,000 hours. So this is 2,000 hours of audio and video. And I'm thinking to myself, the only way that one could actually obtain all this information would be to probably buy a hard drive, a sizable hard drive, put it in their computer and download every one of them. Just the amount of information that would be pretty large, something that he probably wouldn't be able to actually sell individually in his store now, would he? Over.
Well, it's free on YouTube, and obviously hard drives are very cheap these days, so I'll wait for him to answer.
Talking to me? Hopefully not, because I haven't been listening.
Yeah, I got a question out of Discord about your 1,000 shows. equaling more than 2,000 hours of content, and he's wondering about recording and storing them on a hard drive. And go on.
What?
Sure.
Do I store
what I
them?
had said was,
Is that the question? Do I store them on a hard drive? Yeah, of course.
Well, he's asking. He's a fan of the show, and he's asking something about storing it. I don't know if it's for him personally or some other reason. Go on Discord.
yeah, my question was, there's over 2,000 hours of content. It's both audio and video. Now, for you to sell something like that in the store, in the online store, it'd probably be a tall order just for the amount of information it is. So probably the best way to get this show would be to buy a large hard drive, install it in my computer, and download each individual episode. Is that accurate?
I would say so. I mean, for the now, although this will change just purely because of cost, the show is actually, for the most part, on the website in full. So it's in a raw, high definition, high quality format. But as you can probably imagine, the charges for my webmaster are absolutely horrendous because it's massive amounts of information. You know, it's probably a terabyte, if not, is it a terabyte? I don't know. Huge amounts of information. Each show's probably a couple of gigs, maybe more.
Yeah. I would kick myself if the show went offline and went off the air and I wasn't able to get a record of it. Yeah, well, it's priceless. This is priceless content.
Well, that almost happened. So for that reason, the website was set up for exactly that reason, because there was a point where I was getting spam copyright claims on all of my channels. So at one stage, I had something like outstanding across all the channels, something like nearly 20 copyright claims. So, on one channel there was like 11 copyright claims. Anyway, the point is that for that reason, I had to frantically get all of the content that I didn't necessarily have covered already on the hard drive. Don't get me wrong, most of it anyway, but some of it I didn't. You're not so fussed when you're not thinking you're going to lose it all. So you get the majority of it by recording it, but some of it you might miss by accident or whatever is corrupted. So I had to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, make sure I got every single thing, and then re-upload it to a server. Well, just like I say, that will now get changed to just MP3 files, so it'll be audio only, just for the sake of size, because then it's tiny by comparison to high-def video. And yeah, there's probably going to be a few occasions in those MP3 files on the website that you go, this would have been better if I had the visual, presentation of what they're talking about. But on the other hand, I think what is that, 5-10% of the time at the most? Not exactly a huge loss to only have it in MP3, I think.
Yeah, especially during the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
That would be a good one to have the visual on.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's just absolute gold. I mean, you are the Gordon Ramsay of Flat Earth. And meaning you're just so successful and can't get enough, man. And you just hand people their own ass. You put so many smiles on my face.
Weird. I just lost the Hangout call.
Good times all around.
The call has ended. Like, oh, has it? It hasn't. But there we go. If you say so, Google.
Well, much congratulations on your 1,000th show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was a good show. I was, I had low expectations. I wasn't expecting the 1,000 show to be anything particularly special. Just, as long as a show goes out and it's as good, hopefully a bit better than whatever the shows that have gone out before it. But mainly thanks to, is it Conspiracy Mystic or Conspiracy Music Guru? Was I saying his name wrong the whole time? I don't know. I thought it was Conspiracy Mystic Guru, but it could be Conspiracy Music Guru. I've stuck out a new Hangout link. Hopefully we'll get our guests back. Not sure what happened there.
Did you lose your G plus guests then? Or your
Yeah,
Skype?
the call just failed. It just said you have the call ended, which it hadn't. Hello.
What happened?
Just said the call has ended. I don't know why. Weird. Very strange.
Oh, a voice told you the call was ended.
No, it just flashed up. The call has ended.
Oh, I see. Okay.
While I was chatting with Travis. It is Travis.
Yes.
And then just, like I say, I wasn't paying attention to that at that particular moment too, but I glanced across and the call has ended. I'm like, oh, right, thank you very much. Hey, QE.
So I'm not really talking to you?
Not really talking? What? Oh, you're not really here?
So I'm not really talking to you since the call's ended?
The last call. Yeah, just ended abruptly for no reason. Weird.
Before I forget about it, you forgot about me, Nathan.
When, what?
You forgot about me. You're supposed to send me a link about the virtual cables and Skype and all that stuff.
Oh, piss. The thing I said, I definitely won't forget. That thing. Yeah, I will send it you. I'll do it now.
What, is he getting voice meter?
Get out of here. You forgot about freaking Paulie.
Orly?
Oh, God. Is Paul getting voice meter?
I think so.
Yeah, but good luck.
I've already got it. I've been playing with it. I finally got some of it to work. It's working. The Intense Man worked on it a little bit Sunday. So I'm just trying to get, if I want to do Skype and everybody else to listen to everybody else, that's what I'm trying to get done now.
Go buy an abacus.
Quick question for QE when you got a second, sir.
It's in Ballbusters.
Oh, I'm not part of the Ballbusters.
You're not part of Ballbusters?
Nope,
Okay.
I'm not on that connection.
Master B?
I'm in Master B, yes, but not in Ballbusters.
Okay.
I guess I'm not good enough for
Yeah, me
Ballbusters
neither.
yet.
Well, I can't speak for the probation level in Ballbusters. That's nothing to do with me. It is actually. It's my group. There we go. I'll get you added, Paul. Don't worry. After a long discussion about your probation.
That's my group.
You what?
That's my damn group.
I suppose I could pass ownership, but no, it is actually I made that group.
I suppose I could, but no, it's fine.
Either way, I'm sure after a very long discussion and some hard voting, we'll come to the conclusion about your probation. Paul.
Who officially runs the show
My
now?
probation.
Ballbusters is now officially Quantum Eraser's show.
Betty's running it now, though, right?
No, Quantum Eraser's running it, regardless of who he ropes into fronting it. It's his show. He's running it.
I'm
I know.
roping in.
I'm sorry.
That's classic.
Yeah, I can be there on a mobile phone or something, driving around doing errands. Fantastic. Did a recording.
Jeez, oh man, I know. We could tell by the sound. And by the way, it appears that my ISP line engineers have found the problem and eradicated it.
Perfect. Your voice is perfect again. It's brilliant. Thank God.
Yeah.
A good show yesterday. Very good presentation. So for those of you watching this on Nathan Oakley, which you are, prior to this show, Quantum Eraser will have released at 7 PM UK time. So it'll have been published for 3 hours or so, 3.5 hours. What's the show title? I don't actually know. Presumably Spectroscopy something.
Spectroscopy.
Just Spectroscopy. So check out Spectroscopy on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Be here or be sphere.
Does that involve neutrinos? Over.
No.
No.
Would you ever consider doing a show on neutrinos? Over.
No.
Are neutrinos real?
I don't know.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The establishment of the the neutrino has come from CERN. Am I correct in that?
I don't know. They
Who
claim
you
to
I
see
think
him
CERN
through,
supposedly
coming
discovered
through
it.
the earth as the sun rises.
Say again, Travis.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I cut somebody off. The claim is that they see them coming to them through the earth as the sun rises, in the place of the sun, like they're shooting through the earth as if they're operating like some sort of X-ray.
Yeah, they're passing through
We
everything.
need some cowbell. We need to know what neutrinos are. We need to know what they're made of. We need to know where they come from, that sort of stuff. So before we get into that, we need to know all the pedigree information. Thanks.
However, you are correct in their bullshit story about it as I know it, which is to say that neutrinos are... There's billions of them passing right through me right now, according to their story. So don't get me wrong, I know the story, and I'm just completely going to side with John in terms of what he's asserted, which is to say, let's have some claims and cowbell, and then we'll discuss it, rather than me sort of patching together what I know about their narrative in that regard. They might very well be real. I've no idea. Haven't extensively looked into neutrinos beyond what I saw when I was a globehead normie on Discovery Channel.
And what does that have to do with
there
the
are-
heliocentric spinning ball-tard religion?
Just what they assert the sun does, I suppose.
The sun is toast as of 1 o'clock U.S. Central Time.
Yeah, that was the video we were just referring to.
According to Michio Kaku, we don't need to know. We just do it off the seat of our pants.
So yeah, it's absolutely rooted in ball earth logic. There's a place in Japan, a cave, where they claim to point their little neutrino detector into the earth and claim to see, I believe, the sun through the earth, antipodal.
What?
And it looks like oddly familiar to the black hole picture. Maybe they just recycled that photo.
So what are the cause of neutrinos?
It's just a neutrino claim that one of my friends sent me.
What is the
a supposed
cause of
experiment.
neutrinos? What the hell is a neutrino?
It's like
I think it's
like invisible
supposed to
pixie
be
dust.
an X-ray particle.
Yeah, let's start there first. Get a neutrino expert on here and have them, discuss the pedigree information and how that proves the heliocentric spinning ball-tard religion. Thanks.
I just did a quick search, and I will look up who discovered neutrino, and look at the first sentence. The particle called the neutrino was conceived in 1930 by Australian-Swiss theoretical physicist Wolfgang Pauli.
Yeah, Wolfgang Pauli, he's legitimate. He is legitimate. Pauli exclusion principle. This guy's high speed. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying it was conceived. That's all. Focus on the word conceived there. He conceived it. He contrived it. Pulled it out of mathematics,
that's
probably,
fine.
right?
That's fine. Continue.
Oh, that's it. That's all. That's all I was going to say.
No, keep reading the article.
Oh, as possible solution to two vexing problems confronting a widely conceived model of the structure of the atomic nucleus, which used the two elementary constitutes of matter then known, the electron and the proton. The neutral atom of mass A. Well, go ahead. What do you want me to read? Tell me what you want me to read. I'm not going to read the whole paragraph.
Constituents of matter then known, the electron and the proton, the neutral atom of mass number A and atomic number Z was supposed to contain in its nucleus A protons and A Z electrons. Z electrons made up the shells of the atom. This picture seemed reasonable because protons were knocked out of light nuclei by alpha particles. Wow, the language is getting out there.
When was the
that's why I wasn't going to read that.
When was the electron microscope actually invented?
Say again?
When did they have the ability to actually see this stuff at this level.
You ain't seeing neutrinos directly. I mean,
that's what I'm. Okay. Well, I mean, you've said this guy's legit, which might very well be the case, but you know, it says in the title "discovery of," and then in the first sentence it says that they're being conceived, and there's something we can't see.
That's correct. You can. I don't know. I'm not a neutrino expert.
I'm not putting this on you.
Explain it to me.
I'm not putting this on you. I'm just highlighting my issues so far. I'm not putting this on you. Far from it.
Right.
Plus he used the word model in there as well.
Well, and also when I first looked up neutrino, the first thing it says it's near massless, which means it has how you weigh something that's massless. Of course, define what mass is, and also it says it has very little interaction with matter. So, how do you detect something when it has very little interaction with matter?
By seeing it interact with matter.
So you detect it when it has very little interaction, but you see how it interacts with matter. But
that's right. You know, if it has very little interaction with matter, that implies that it has some interaction with matter. So then you go and see if you can find it having interaction with matter.
Nathan, I got a date for you. On the electron microscope, it was the patent was obtained in 1932, and the Russians built it in 1933. It says here the following year. Not Russians or Ruski. 1933 was the first one ever built.
So a couple of years after this is claimed to have been, what was the word he conceived? Very interesting. And
4
now,
years later, 1937, Siemens financed the work for Ernst Ruska and et cetera, et cetera. So right in the mid-30s to late 30s, I guess it came out.
Sorry,
and the first one in North America was 1938.
Thank you, 10th man. If I want to utilize the line that Discord's attached to, you probably know better than I do, Quantum Eraser, and I don't want them to speak while I'm playing this next song, do I just press deafen and then I won't hear anything from them?
If you press deafen on everyone in the Hangout, they won't hear you or anything you play.
Okay, if that's the case, unfortunately, people in Discord, you're going to have to watch afterwards. Oh yes, it sticks the mute button on too. I see. So I'm going to pop you guys on mute and we're just going to hear Adam's song, which I know Quantum Race is a massive fan of.
Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. I mean, science, as you know, operates on multiple levels of explanation, and often we speak in an approximate way to kind of make progress and understand phenomena that we observe, even though we kind of know deep down it doesn't quite work that way. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. We can and do, and we must think of Newtonian gravity as a force. That doesn't mean it really is, but we don't necessarily need to work at the really is level. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. For understanding projectile motion, when you throw a baseball, when you or calculate the orbit of the moon or a satellite, it works extremely well. And it's only really the fundamental physicist who's trying to understand the causes of things that really begins to question that picture. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. I mean, science, as you know, operates on multiple levels of explanation, and often we speak in an approximate way to kind of make progress and understand phenomena that we observe, even though we kind of know deep down it doesn't quite work that way. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. We can and do, and we must think of Newtonian gravity as a force. That doesn't mean it really is, but we don't necessarily need to work at the really is level. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by I don't actually know because I've got the wrong screen up. So let's find out who we're joined by in just one moment. Where's my Hangouts page? There it is. We're joined by Sleeping Warrior, Paul, Quantum Eraser, Flatsoid, and 10th Man. Very good to have you all.
Hello, hello, hello.
We're also joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord, so hello to everyone in Discord as well.
Hello, Nathan. Thank you for having us.
Scurry and get all the people who are off mute that I haven't bothered to already. So hello, hello, hello. And any signs of Earth curvature?
Not from Puerto Rico.
There's plenty in South Africa.
Not in.
What about axial rotation? Any signs of that?
Not of the Earth base variety.
I'm so dizzy.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Was that
Can't
Travis?
even define gravity, let alone prove it.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Hey,
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
what is the
Nope.
sun?
No idea. Any evidence of the distance to whatever the hell it is? Hey, Arwen.
Hello.
Hello.
Ha.
Any evidence of gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
Oh,
Impossible.
Do you know what, Nathan? I did a whole hangout dedicated to this point this morning, and to be honest with you, the ballers just refuse to accept that gravity can't do anything. They need gravity always, and it's like it's not even a force. But even if it is a force, it can't prove it can't cause the thing that you need it to do. Slow down the velocity of particles that are expanding away from the Earth's surface, which will be the surface of the container on their model, at a rate of about 500 meters per second. They need gravity to be able to stop that, and we know that even if it did exist, it can't do that. And because it doesn't exist, it's basically there's no explanation on the ball Earth side, but it doesn't stop them pushing that gravity point anyway. It kills their ball.
Containers don't have a single surface.
If it's a sphere, though, then the sphere becomes the exterior of the container.
Wrong.
No, it doesn't. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't. You need
Yeah, it does.
how many surfaces do you need to have a container in Euclidean 3 space?
Yeah, that's not the point, though. If the sphere is in the vacuum of space, then the container, that becomes the external walls of the container.
Wrong.
Hold on. Just such a weak begging the question. So if
I'm just applying their model.
what do you mean applying their model? You mean you're begging the question?
Yeah.
If the Earth's in a vacuum, right? Let's just presuppose the vacuum's there and then work from there, right? No, I don't think so.
I don't mind presupposing. I quite like dancing the dance.
The Earth is not a container.
No, it acts as the container on the model, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't act. It's not a container. It doesn't act. It's not.
It only
flowers.
presupposes to act, but it doesn't actually act.
Define a
Even in their
container.
conceptualization.
Define a
be-
container.
You might be misunderstanding my point. In Pascal's law, it states that the pressure exerts itself on the surfaces of the container. But if the gas pressure that we do have on the Earth is acting against the surface of the container, the Earth is the container, but it's acting against
it's not. That's preposterous. The Earth is not a container, even in their model. It's a ball. Balls aren't containers.
John, just because there's evidence that opposes your opinion doesn't mean it's wrong.
It's not an opinion. It's not a friggin' container.
Look, Nathan, am I on screen?
Look what? What is a container? Not Pascal's law.
Pascal's law states that the pressure of a gas exerts force equally in all directions against the walls of its container. Well, the Earth would be one of the walls.
It's not. Oh my god.
Okay, let me just try, John. Let's just say we're gonna do a test that's analogous to the space vacuum, and therefore we've got a very big vacuum. Anthony, you followed me so far?
Yeah.
If I drop a marble into that vacuum, is the marble a container?
Who? Me?
We've got a vacuum, and I'm going to drop a marble in it. Am I putting a container inside that container?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pascal's law states that a pressure of a gas.
Oh my God, he's turned into Brenda. Don't reassert what Pascal's law is. We heard. I've got it on screen and I read it. I don't need to hear it repeated. I just need an answer, yes or no. If you've got a giant vacuum and I drop a marble in it, is that marble a container?
Well, according to Pascal's law, it exerts force equally in all directions against the walls of its container. Well, we do have gas pressure, and according to that, it is exerting its force equally in all directions against the walls of its container. Well, the only wall that we have, if we're on a sphere, is the Earth itself. But the
Earth
pressure
isn't
applying
a
against
wall.
it.
Yeah, you're misinterpreting what
I know.
the meaning of walls is.
I know, but where else is the container?
There isn't one.
There isn't one.
I
That's
know.
the point.
Stop it!
I know.
Somebody slap Riley in the face.
I'm pointing out how silly their argument is by arguing it.
I liked your little
the
Brenda
antithesis
bit.
of contained.
I loved when he got to the really crucial bit, the question that he needs to answer. His answer was to repeat the claim. Just read out the paragraph again. Beautiful. Epic.
That's what the science says, though, right? So by doing that, although I look a little bit silly in this context, I'm doing what the actual science tells us is what is the cause of gas pressure, and I'm applying it to the model that they tell us that we live on.
Science
The
doesn't
fact that
tell
it's
us
like that,
anything. It
Took the words
doesn't
out of
have
my mouth.
lips. It
Took the words
doesn't
out
have
of my
vocal
mouth.
cords. It's not saying anything.
Their reification fallacy. Science doesn't tell you anything.
No, but Pascal's law does tell us that the pressure exerts force equally in all directions on the surface of against the surface of the container, right? The walls of the container. Well, where's the walls of the container if we live on a sphere?
That's my question.
Hold on.
I agree, but it has to be the Earth itself.
The Earth isn't a wall,
But it has to be because that's the way gas laws work.
and it has to have
Hold
the
on,
other wall.
hold on. I've got to the fallacy. So this is special pleading. Didn't we talk about this the other day on the phone, Anthony? So what you're applying now is special pleading. So you're saying no, it must be a wall of a container.
Ball, Nathan.
Hold on, don't rumpus me. Come on. I'm just addressing your fallacy. So it's special pleading. Because you believe the sky is a vacuum, then it must be a wall or a container. Correct?
Nathan, you're using your mute button against me.
I'm not. I've touched the thing. What are you talking about? Right.
All I'm pointing out is the ridiculousness of arguing that the ball is the container that the gas pressure is pushing against.
Yeah, on versus in. During your show today, Anthony, very good show. You kept me engaged for at least a couple of hours until the end when you were just scratching your dog's head. It was very, very good. It was like coffee shop meets proper presentation with chat interaction. It was a really good show. So yeah, check out Sleeping Warrior's most recent broadcast. Very, very entertaining.
It does say against the walls of the container, not on or in.
No, I'm saying it. So when you've got gas law and you're trying to look for a volume, the question comes, well, what is the volume that the gas can fill? When you're talking about a marble. I'm getting rumpus by Anthony. This is mad. What's going on? Have you spent some time in the company of ballers recently, Anthony?
I'm just trying to give you some valid opposition because the ballers don't like coming on because they get attacked. But I don't mind being attacked because the points that they're making on their model are ridiculous and they won't make them, so I'll make them for them.
I see. Thanks. So the volume, it would be the amount of space that the gas can fill. And in the case of a marble in a vacuum, the space that the gas can fill isn't the surface area of the marble. It's the surface area of the container. In this case, the vacuum. So that would be your area. And if you take that analogy and make it bigger, you've got the blue marble claimed to be in a sky vacuum that's ever expanding. So the volume would be the sky vacuum, not the marble.
Yeah, I have no retort to that. I can't get past that. I'm sorry. You've just debunked my model.
That's okay. Space is fake. If you're watching this and you were unaware, let me be the first to break it to you. Your religion's bunk. The sky is not a vacuum. The earth is not a sphere. Sorry.
Yeah. I actually had somebody that said to me, can you do me a favor? I said, what's that? Can you go and look on such a channel? Because they've debunked you within a few hours. And I was like, they've debunked me in a few hours? I don't think so. They won't have debunked me. What's the issue? And said it was to do with gas pressure in a vacuum. I said, right, what channel was it? And they said, I can't remember, but I think it begins with E. And I'm thinking, E? Who's E? Couldn't think of anybody. And then they said blue marble science. I was like, that doesn't begin with E. He said, no, but he mirrored it. I was like, okay, I'll just go to blue marble science. And he mirrored Everett Anderson's bloody video. And Everett Anderson gets the point. He literally says, if there was gas pressure next to a vacuum, there wouldn't be an atmosphere. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. That's what your model tells us is going on. There has to be no atmosphere if there's a gas pressure next to a vacuum, because it would be immediately dispersed into it, and I demonstrated it with science. So he gets the point, but then he infers gravity is the cause, and we know gravity is not a force, and even if it was a force, it's not powerful enough. And it's like Everett Anderson's thick. He just ignores the fact that gravity is not a force, and then blue marble science then mirrors it. And I'm like, you're a moron as well. Honest to God, these ballers are so, I mean, literally, right? You've got SX0 that was questioning us recently, right? And whether he's playing, but like, he might be playing devil's advocate the way I am now, but whatever's going on with SX0, he's challenging us to explain ourselves, right? And that overall is a good thing. Ballers don't do that. Ballers just all, no matter how silly it is, Blue Marble Science claimed he did gas pressure without a container, and he had a big bloody pipe going up the side of his the chimney of his house. That's not gas pressure without a container, is it? That's gas pressure.
Showed up. And that's the least of the problems. He showed up with a container filled with gas pressure, the butane.
Yeah, but his video was entitled Gas Pressure Without a Container, right? And rather than the ballers challenge him and say, well, hang on a minute, you've got a pipe, they all sat there and went, oh, do you know, I look up to people like you, Blue Marble Science. And I'm like, yeah, you wear Velcro shoes, mate, and one of your soles is a little bit fatter than the other one. So what does that say?
Don't get me started on soles. Shout out to David Rakia Gafford for smashing the super chat before the show even started. So he says, first to be on Moot. Thank you very much for the super chat, David Rakia Gafford. Really appreciate your support. Also, shout out to flatearthchannel.com for smashing the super chat, and Workhorse, who says, shout out to Rakia. Thank you very much, everyone, for smashing the super chat. Really appreciate your support, guys.
So,
hey, Anthony, for the after show.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Go ahead, Paul.
Stop overspeaking him. Stop hogging the mic, John.
Yeah.
I started speaking first, John.
Come on, mute. Paul's got the mic. Give Paul the mic.
Okay, I don't know if you saw it, Anthony, but you could probably see it in the after show. That gas pressure model that they post now that Metabunk did, I actually let it run yesterday for about an hour when the settings are just starting, like when you first pop it up. But after about an hour, maybe two, there was no gas around that. I mean, those particles were gone.
Oh,
so their own model debunks it. Their own model debunks themselves.
The point is that it's as default, right? So you go to that piece of software, do nothing. 2 hours later, there's no gas. We're all dead.
Is that what it is? Do nothing. You don't make any changes.
I popped it up. I let it run. But you got to leave it on screen, because if you take it off screen, it resets. So just leave it on the screen and let it run. And eventually, within, I think it was maybe an hour, maybe two, I can't remember exactly, there was no gas particles near the blue marble. It was funny.
Did you make any changes to the original setup?
Nope. I just popped it up and let it run. Didn't do it.
Oh, love it.
Even in McWestian 2 space, the gas still fills the space.
Yeah. You have to wonder what was going through his mind when he decided to release that as a public document or a public bit of software, because he must have known at some point we'd have come across it and laughed at it as a result. But don't forget, he influences 90% of the ball earth trolls and morons, right? So the little 5% in the corner that's us, I guess we're collateral damage. He can afford to take the hit. But from our perspective, we just laugh at him. He's a fucking idiot.
I like Wakey Wakey's analogy of a papier-mâché ball that looks really sturdy until you go up to it and you poke and then you put a big hole in it, right? Well, in that analogy, we've put a big gaping hole in this sphere model, this papier-mâché model by analogy. And what this is the next layer of newspaper and a bit of glue over the hole. Now, when it dries, it's basically transparent, right? You can see right through it. But that's what this is, a patchwork layer of bullshit smeared over the gaping holes that we've poked in the model. The papier-mâché model that's paper thin.
Oh, and he's gonna fix it, right? He's gonna He's gonna.
Yeah, he's gonna set gravity
That
so
only
it can't
tells
be
you that.
changed.
That only tells you that he's disingenuous. No?
Well, here's the catch about that. Oh, I'm sorry. Before you move on past this, I've played with that thing over the course of a day or two. I've increased the gravity, the gas disperses. I put no gravity, the gas disperses. I put the particles starting out at a slow speed, the gas disperses. No matter what you do, if you let it run on its own, the gas disperses, no matter what the gravity setting is.
All right, so come on, ballers. How are you going to explain it? On your own model, the gas fills the space, right? Because, well, we're in a vacuum, right? So that differential pulls, well, maybe vacuums don't suck, but for this purpose, I'm all right saying that the vacuum sucks, right? The vacuum is pulling off, or the pressure is bursting off into space, and there's nothing pulling it back. How is it? Go on.
Anthony, they're going to say, this is a model, it's not real.
Yeah, we're reifying their model.
No, I don't think we're guilty of reifying pseudo-Ramonian, Mick-Westian rather, pseudo-Mick-Westian 2-space. No. We're just showing you that your failure model, even when it's modelled in 2 dimensions and ignores gravity completely, that would be the 4th dimensional space-time. Yeah, that's supposed to be bending to hold it there, but that's just a slider, apparently. But nonetheless, Mick-Westian 2-space is bollocks, and even in this model, the gas would fill the space. So a quick shout out to Wilson Rivas, hope I'm saying your name right. It's impossible to have gases without a container. Yeah, right on. Gases on Earth prove the Earth has a form of container. Yeah, precisely. Well said. Thanks for the super chat, Wilson Rivas.
I want to know. I've heard people saying that gravity is the container. I want to know where that's come from. Where's the source of that little nugget of nonsense? Somebody on the Ball Earth side has claimed that gravity is the container. Does anybody know where that's come from? Because that person is a moron.
Not part of their rhetoric. It's not part of their model. You know,
No, I know it's not.
You won't
but somebody
find.
claimed it because I've heard a few people saying it, and I want to know where it's come from. So if anybody knows who said that originally, it's going to be somebody like Red's Rhetoric or somebody like that, but I don't know who.
You're right. It will be from the trenches because it's not part of the rhetoric. You know, Quantum Race is probably twitching while I'm saying this because it's him that's told me. But this is not part of their rhetoric. There is no place you will find in the official heliocentric rhetoric where it demonstrates that gravity, the bending of pseudo-Ramonian 4 space, holds gas pressure. That's not what gravity, even in their bullshit models and reifications, does. It does not do that. That's why
some places I have seen that though. I have seen
from
it
the trenches.
Stated in
From the trenches.
No, not here in the trenches. In the bullshit.
What, from a vlog spot or something?
Yeah. Where's it come from though? Who said it somewhere? Somebody said at some point gravity is the container. Really?
Well, it has to be organic because they don't have anything else. They could say it's weight, then they'll say it's gravity, because without those two things to fall back on, it's got to be a container. So they're going to say something, and it's kind of maybe spontaneous. They have to say it.
Jim Morrison in chat is saying it was him. It wasn't you because nobody knows Jim Morrison in this context.
It's mindless parroting. Gravity.
No, somebody said it. Somebody said it. 'Cause I've heard people say it. No, and Druss the legend. Druss, right? Druss is from Jose's chat. No gravity, no weight. Yeah, that's kind of our position, mate. No gravity, no weight. We just have, the colloquial meaning of the word weight. We don't have mass times little g. We just have weight in its colloquial sense. You guys have raped the meaning of words in science to justify your bullshit religion.
They're actually changing the rhetoric in the Discord too. They're actually they're stopped saying gravity or anything like that. They're actually using the word weight now.
Oh,
Particle
really?
has weight. Things have weight. Yeah, they're changing the rhetoric. So they're actually reverting back to the original definition of gravity, which means weightiness or heaviness. It's like they're having to scrap all thousands or hundreds of years and going back to the original definition. It's hilarious.
Well,
Back to the drawing board.
That's because we're challenging what is weight when it's got little g in it, right? What is gravity when it's not a force? What are all these concepts that they keep talking about? And we're like, hang on a minute, where is the science for this? There is no science for this. It's just logic and reason. No, that's not science, guys. We want to see the proof that the Earth turn is causing sunset. Where is the proof that Earth turns causing sunset or whatever? And there is none. So it's like, guys, what are we believing here? What are we expected to accept is true when you can't produce evidence that proves the cause of the phenomena that we see? One of them being sunset. There is none.
Well, the argument now is they're saying weight is a force because you can put it on a scale and it moves the scale. So it is moving, it's accelerating, so it has weight is a force. That's what they're saying now.
Well, Rumpus has always said that scales are a, what did he say? Scales are a force measuring device. Now, colloquially speaking, he's right. You stand on scales and it measures something, right? But in science, weight is mass times little g. So if mass is not a weight, is not a force, it's a scalar, but little g is not a force because it's the bending of a conceptual medium called space-time, then what force is pressing down against the scales if scales are a force measuring device? And on their model, they don't have a force because little g is not a force and mass is not a force, but there is something pushing down on it. So what is it?
He also said that there's no entropy on the Earth. Air is an atmosphere.
I know.
Independent variables are not part of the scientific method. He should be institutionalized. So
Supercurve's a victim of his deception because he says, Sleeping Warrior, weight is a force. Okay, so weight is mass times little g. Mass is not a force, it's a scalar. Little g is not a force because it's the bending of a conceptual medium called space-time. So, Supercurve, weight is not a force because there isn't a force there, is there? Oops.
That's how they stole the word. They inserted the little g into that word, and they cannot get rid of it.
Yeah,
That's why every time you mention weight, they're thinking it's gravity, and that's their problem that they have. They cannot get like detached from that. We understand that it's little g doesn't mean anything.
From big G? Did little g come from big G? Where'd little g come from? Sean G?
So, Just the Legend says, Semantic Warrior. Yeah, words have got meaning. And when it says gravity is not a force, it doesn't mean that you can think of it as a force, even though Muscle says
Semantic Warrior. That's adorable. Share your pain. Share your pain, Glovers.
Where's Just the Retard at? Where's he at?
Hold on.
Just the retard.
Oh,
he says, how is gravity described in 3D space? Oh, yeah, it's a force. Yeah, that was superseded in 1915 by Einstein's theory on general relativity.
Have Just the Retard
is not a force. What?
Have Just the Retard join the show.
Oh, no, he can't because he'll get absolutely mullered. Just the Legend can only go into the rhetoric that is Jose's church, because if he comes on here, he'll be hung, drawn, quartered, and Nathan will have to be pressing mute buttons all over the place because we'll be lining up to throw stones at the guy.
Sorry, I just don't want what QE said to go as rhetorical. So you started off by saying, or asking SX, was it SX? Where did big G come from? Did it come from little g? Is that correct? Was that what you asked first?
No, where did little g come from? Did it come from big G? Where did little g come from?
Right. Where did little g come from? So let's just leave that on the table. Does anybody know? Gentleman's name? Anybody at all?
Where did little g come from? Wasn't it the rate of the apple falling off?
Oh, we got a contender. Say that again, please, Sleeping Warrior.
Little g is just acceleration.
Oh, we've got two
Wasn't
contenders.
it measured to be the rate that the apple fell from the tree according to Newton's principles?
Wasn't it Boyce who brought it up?
Who said that?
10th man.
10th
That was
man.
Big G, wasn't it?
Can you repeat that, 10th man?
Yeah, I forget the first initial, but I remember Boyce came
CV.
in 100 and some, or 200 and some years later. CV Boyce, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big G.
So where did little g come from? So we got big G. Where did little g come from? Anybody at all?
Well, little g is the acceleration due to Earth's gravity, according to science. So Earth's gravity must be the rate that things appear to be attracted to the Earth in a vacuum. So it must have come from the measurement of velocity in a vacuum, right?
No.
I don't know then. Where did little g come from?
From a holy man.
Do you mean Neil deGrasse Tyson?
No.
Peace be upon him.
Just give you that clue again. For those from a holy man.
Holy man, Eratosthenes.
No.
Carl Sagan.
Fun. Hey QE, I like this game. I see why you play it. It's fun, right?
Of course it's fun. Whatever game we're playing, it's fun.
I just want to know where I don't know where it came from. I want somebody to tell me.
Me too.
Oh, so it's a rhetorical question.
No, it's not rhetorical. Just ignore.
It's not rhetorical if I'm asking a question expecting an answer.
You see what I mean? The fact that he just deliberately led you to make that assertion that it could be rhetorical is now our point to berate you, Anthony. How dare you? No, we absolutely want to know where this little G came from. How dare you?
Hang on, given that we're all Quantum Eraser followers and we just parrot Quantum Eraser, surely if Quantum Eraser is asking a question, it has to be rhetorical. Otherwise, he'd know the answer himself and we'd all worship him. Praise Quantum Eraser.
Now, in this particular case, I'm asking a legitimate question.
Well, little g is quantified to be the acceleration due to Earth's gravity, right? So I can only assume that they measured the rate of fall in a vacuum chamber.
In a vacuum chamber, where do we find a vacuum chamber on Earth?
In a container.
Well, that's man-made. That's not scientific, so.
I know. Well, it's nonsense.
Where did we
Space, John? In a space?
Go on. What was that?
That's right. No, I just say in the space, I think you find a vacuum. No.
Hey, thanks for the donation there, SX.
Hey, no problem, Anthony.
I've got to say, I'm
not trolling, man. I'm not trolling. I'm just.
Well, I'll take a shot at it again. If you say if I'm a holy man, I would say it would have to be what's his name, Cavendish and Michel, or Lemaitre.
No, you're giving me big G. What I'm looking for little G.
Oh, I was wrong then. That was my assumption incorrectly. So now I'm totally in the dark and going to be as dumb as you lot. I don't know where
I knew that from the jump. That's why I never said CV boys, because I know that's big G.
Nathan, I resent that descriptive word that we're dumb. We're asking questions. That's not dumb. That's just
ignorant. No, I said I was dumb.
Okay, then. You can be dumb.
As dumb as you lot.
Okay, then.
Well, somebody look it up.
I'm the only one.
How are you looking it up? Somebody look it up. Where did little G come from?
We need to ask Professor Dave. Where did Professor Dave get little G from? I'm going to put my neck out on a limb and say that little g is defined as the gravitational acceleration due to Earth's gravity. And I'm going to cite Professor Dave as my authority. So if he's going to be my authority, I'm going to ask Professor Dave, Earth's gravitational pull must be, 9.2 meters per second squared. So it must be measured in a vacuum. I'm going to go with that.
Wait a second. Oh my God. What a jumble of a colossal mess that was.
I don't know.
What is little g? Where did it? Is this a Newtonian thing? You said gravitational acceleration. Well, there is no gravitational acceleration.
It sounds, dare I say it, Newtonian.
Doesn't, well, do we follow? Even the pseudoscience priests, do they follow Newtonian? Cavendish, CV boys, Reverend John Michel gravity, or do they follow Einsteinian gravity?
Einsteinian, pseudo-Riemannian force space, length, breadth, depth, time.
That sounds like the end of the discussion, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it'd still be nice to know the origins.
So is there any ball-tards in chat that know where little g came from? Because we're all dumb, God to Nathan.
Is it the acceleration due to, yeah, this is nonsense. Is this acceleration with everything?
Well, it's the acceleration due to Earth's gravity, according to Professor Dave.
Helium balloon.
No, they don't count, John. They go the other way. Retard.
Okay. So have we rounded out gas pressure without a container? Scientific evidence of gravity. What about a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the presupposed center of a sphere Earth?
What core?
Any evidence of it?
Do you know what?
The one that is in the
I'm going to get a citation from what's his face. Fight the Flat Earth for what he claims is proof that there's a molten iron core. Come back to me. Don't go off topic yet. We'll come back to me in a minute. It's glorious.
Okay. Any evidence of the R value? Okay, we'd like any evidence.
Yeah.
Any evidence of any valid hypothesis from any of the following disciplines: cosmology, astronomy, or astrophysics, in the entire history of any of those disciplines. So any valid hypothesis in the history of cosmology, astrophysics, or astronomy. Anybody got that?
No.
No.
Nothing.
Okay. So I want to read out, I've been holding off till the end of housekeeping just to read out this super chat. So shout out to Tanner Oldie, who says, thoughts on Dave Weiss on tinfoil hat yesterday? Question mark. Thank you very much for the super chat, Tanner Oldie. I don't know what you're talking about. I will give a big massive shout out to DITRH though, because he's increased my subscriber count by about 150 people by trimming out a section that, let me get this correct, Jeranism originally did, and he used a section that I did for a show that's coming out tonight. So for those of you watching live, I think it's at 8 PM UK time on Lifting the Lid channel. So that's Robin's channel. So he's interviewed me along with Roxanne and then edited in some music and various other transitions and such like. And then the end product is actually going to be released or premiered on YouTube on Lifting the Lid tonight at 8 PM. I believe it's 8 PM. It could be 7:30, but there or thereabouts this evening for us in the UK. But yes, so massive shout out to DITRH for putting that little mirror, that little advert together, whatever you want to call it, the section that Jaren also did. Another shout out to Jaren, and thank you to Robin and Roxanne for interviewing me, because that little trim has now gone all over the place. There's loads of people that have mirrored it. Me talking about the clock at 20 miles that's actually a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of a clock from behind the reified edge of an earth curve based on an R value and a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. That little preamble made it into a clip, even though people watching it probably don't realise I've said that about 100 times. It's like, oh, I couldn't have said that. It's like, yeah, when you've argued about the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator as much as we have, you can rattle it off like it's nobody's business easily. So, but thank you very much, Dirth, and I don't know what the tinfoil hat is, so maybe if you can let me know in the chat, I'll keep an eye for what you say next. You have to super chat it, Tanner, but thank you for the super chat. Also, shout out to Workhorse, who asked, I can't actually see your super chat, it's hidden because it's the last one, but it was something along the lines of prove the Bible with scientific validity. The Bible's not a cause and effect relationship based on an observed phenomena, unfortunately, so I don't know how QE would get on validating the Bible scientifically. It's a malformed question, but thank you very much either way for the super chat, Workhorse. Really do appreciate your support. That's me done.
Nathan,
thank you.
Present my screen for me, Nathan, please.
Yes, sir. Done.
So this was cited by Fight the Flat Earth on a sock account when he was challenged to prove that the core, the Earth has got an inner core, and he cited somewhat from the British Geological Survey, right? And this is what he cites, and this is obviously the same thing that Conspiracy Pratt gets. He cites P waves and S waves. And he cites this, and if you read what this actually says, it's hilarious. It says the structure of Earth, the core structure, the yada, 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 the crust, the mantle, the core, the interactive seismic wave animation. And to be honest, it looks on the face of it credible, right? It seems, if you were to read it, it seems credible. And this is the thing that they always cite. This is the picture that they always say, demonstrate, right? And look at what it says. Primary waves of a hypothetical earthquake at the North Pole are refracted at the core mantle boundary, right? I don't know why it's got to be at the North Pole. I'm sure there's a legitimate reason for it, but this is a hypothetical earthquake at the North Pole, and what they depict or they interpret or they perceive would happen if there was actually. This is what he cites as proof that there is a molten iron core, a hypothetical earthquake, and a pretty picture. That's not molten iron core evidence. Fight the Flat Earth. We're asking for proof that there is a sphere within a sphere, and it's a molten iron core all the way around it that's self-perpetuating, providing the magnetic currents that we perceive on the Earth as the compass directional thing. We want to see that there's some evidence to support this nonsense, not a little diagram, and not definitely from not from a hypothetical earthquake. Moron.
I'm sure you could formulate that into a cause and effect relationship and end up with the valid cause of earthquakes, right? Useful.
Do you know, I don't think any of the ballers would be able to formulate a hypothesis. They all claim Simon Dan's a good example of someone that's a moron that can't formulate one. He challenges Kent Hovind on his creation point, and I'm not really a Kent Hovind fan, but what I do realize is that when Kent Hovind says that there's never been a change of kind, that phraseology I understand completely. Kent Hovind challenged him to demonstrate certain parts of his evolution theory, and we know that he's not going to do anything because the guy is an idiot. So it's like, well, you guys can't even do science, yet you claim science, yet we're learning the science and we're trying to apply it. And if we get it wrong a couple of times along the way, that's all right, as long as we learn. And the reality is there is no science for a heliocentric ball.
Are you trying to get your 10,000 words out?
Yeah, sorry. I'm doing an Arwin. I'm sorry.
My word. What's evolution?
What?
Yeah, that was a Kent Hovind point. He was basically saying you won't ever show me evidence that one animal has produced another that's sort of a different species. They just reproduce the same species. And again, I completely agree with Kent Hovind on that point. Evolution is a nonsense. What's evolution? Something that has absolutely no scientific validity. It's an arbitrary construction by us.
No. What is evolution?
Change of kind.
A description given by normally fundamentalist religious ball-believing zealots about how our world evolved.
It's where two donkeys have sex and they give birth to a bear.
No. I didn't ask for an example. Give me the scientific theory of evolution.
There isn't one. It's just a load of nonsense.
But you just don't understand. Things change over time. You just don't understand.
Show me one example. That was Kent Hovind's point. Show me, again, I'll say it, I don't particularly agree with Kent Hovind on a lot of different things, but in this instance, Red Pill Philosophy mirrored his video. I listened to the majority of it, and I couldn't really fault what he was saying. He's saying, show me any evidence of this actually occurring. There isn't any. I know it, he knows it. Does Simon Dan know it? Probably not. Thinks there's evidence of evolution, because people like Paul will say, because Paul's obviously a zealot in this example, that things just change over time. And just saying it, and saying that that's what evolution is, doesn't give you any scientific validity, and that's Quantum Eraser's point. There's no scientific validity to evolution. It's a load of crap.
Of course it is. I tell you what I did agree with. I don't really follow Kent Hovind because it was about 10 years ago that I looked into evolution and creation, and I realized that it can't be evolution. That doesn't mean it's creation. It probably is creation, but it can't be evolution.
What's evolution?
Who cares? My point is that when they...
No, I care because you're using your... Okay, I'll just talk about friggin' pixie dust and fairy tale friggin' three-toed gnomes. Okay? I'll just talk about that, and we'll talk about the claims associated with that. Is that all right?
Let me know when the pixie dust three-toed gnome thing farts, because that's the point when I can interrupt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you're using evolution, this evolution. What the hell is it?
Does it matter?
Yeah.
Why does it matter?
Things change over time, John.
Yeah, over trillions of years.
Things change over time. Really? Wow. A rocket scientist, right? Thanks for the summary of the second law of thermodynamics. Do you have anything else? That's what I thought. Stop talking about freaking made up bullshit. This is a gravity category.
Could you also add on, if you're going to talk about evolution, which obviously is going to piss John off, but you need to specify and say Darwinian evolution.
Well,
is that a scientific theory?
Oh yeah, that's gonna really calm him down. Well done, yeah.
Let me finish my point before I got derailed by John, while I've still got it in my mind, because it'll go otherwise. What Kent Hovind did say was that Simon Dan described Kent Hovind as wanting to put creation into education, right? And Kent Hovind said, no, I think you should be taught both and allowed the decision, the choice to make your own informed.
False dichotomy.
I agree with Kent Hovind. You should be taught both.
Dichotomy for, like, I keep on saying this. I have probably told you by 10 times. Creation versus evolution, right? We don't know what evolution is, number one. Creation versus evolution is a false dichotomy. Number three, even the pseudoscientists know that there was creation. See the first law, second law, thermodynamics, and quantum mechanics. So what the hell are you talking about?
My point is that Simon Dan said that Kent Hovind was trying to get creation taught. And Kent Hovind said, I'm not. I'm trying to say that both should be taught and children should be allowed to think critically for themselves. And I agree with that. We should be taught both, not one.
Anthony, I think
so.
what Q is
Wait a second. So we're going to teach about evolution, but we don't know what it fucking is, right? Does that make any sense to you?
No, but there are ball earther morons that think evolution's true. Well, let's pander to the lowest common denominator. Let's tell them that there is this argument that we evolved from monkeys and let people laugh at it. I see that as credible education because it allows critical thought.
Well, you see, the ballers they're parroting the wrong pseudoscientists, right? Because even the pseudoscientists know that there must have been a beginning. I say again, see the first law and second laws of thermodynamics and the laws of quantum mechanics. So who are they? Who are the baltards representing? They're not parroting the right pseudoscience, that's for sure.
Can I just compare this to something else, just for Anthony's benefit? So, Anthony,
yes.
I say the Earth is obviously and observably flat, and there is no evidence, scientific or otherwise, for the heliocentric model. And then by comparison, you say, I think, given that there's absolutely no validity whatsoever given to the heliocentric model, we should teach it alongside a flat Earth reification of the azimuthal equidistant projection and let them choose which one they believe in. Is that
I didn't
reasonable?
say that. I didn't say that. I said that evolution and creation should be taught side by side, and children should be given the choice to decide what they think is most likely to be true.
I understand. I understand. And by comparison, I'm not saying you've said this. By comparison, I'm saying, I don't, just to make that clear. Don't quote this out of context, you bastards. I say, in this example, that both the azimuthal equidistant projection with boats sailing over the edge of it and a globe model should be taught, how did you phrase it, side by side, and let the little kiddies choose. Is that reasonable?
I think a bipartisan teaching is better than a partisan teaching, however you argue against it, because we should have both sides presented so that you're aware that both sides, there are two sides.
Why don't
false
we
dichotomy?
Yeah, false dichotomy. You
Well,
understand what the false
personally,
dichotomy is, though, right? I know you're not unaware of a false dichotomy, Anthony.
No, but I think that you shouldn't be taught a partisan teaching. You should be taught that this is contentious. There are at least two sides to it. There may be more. And I think that you should get at that point where you apply your critical thinking to come to your own conclusion.
Sure, but in the case of this example, so back on track with evolution, in the case of my comparison with globe versus azimuthal reifications held up in false dichotomy, your example has something that is undefined versus creation.
Well, I don't really know what to say to that other than I don't think kids should be taught by a partisan teaching. They should be taught that this shit's contentious.
How about teach the truth that you can validate with your own first and second law instead of making up a Narnia world and say we got to teach both?
It's more than that. It's more than that, 10th man. Quantum mechanics validates this. That's why, overtly stated on more than one occasion on this show, Quantum Eraser said even the pseudoscientists know. And what he means by that is everybody who's got the vaguest inkling about science understands that there must have been creation at the beginning of it by way of quantum mechanical discovery. So this is something that only the literal pseudoscience pretender clowns would deny. So it's not like that you need to present a different viewpoint when it's valid completely. There's no ifs, buts or maybes about it. It's not like there's going to be a partisan view if you're teaching something that just is fact. This isn't a quasi-fact with a half-life. This is validated fact. So it's not, it shouldn't be contentious, I think is the point that QE's making.
I agree.
First law, second law of thermodynamics, and quantum mechanics. It's over. They already admit there must have been a beginning. So a beginning is creation. That moves to the next point.
Yeah,
You only have two choices for how we and the universe are here. They're called the ontological primitives. Either nature did it or intelligent agency. Those are your two choices. Everyone got this.
The first sip of the cup of science will make you an atheist, but at the bottom of the glass, God is waiting for you. Who said that?
Werner Heisenberg.
We're living in a quantum age. We're not living in an Einsteinian age.
Doesn't matter anyway. It follows from the first and second laws of thermodynamics. We don't even have to get into quantum mechanics. Just the first and second law.
I appreciate that. It's just I like to have things that you can explain with some degree of scientific validity in your assertion. Now, I'm not saying that natural laws are in any way invalid. It's just extra cowbell.
Look, the only reason,
go ahead.
The only reason they're teaching evolution, well, let me tell you what they don't have. They don't have any facts. They don't have any transitions. They don't have one kind producing another kind. So what's left? What is the reason when they have all this void of evidence for what they're teaching and them saying, we have to teach this. We have to teach this. Oh, no, don't bring creation because that brings in God. If you bring in God, that's religion.
Oh, let me tell you, well, there's an answer. The answer is it's part of heliocentric religion. It's a cornerstone. This is part of the religion we're fighting against. That's why we're discussing it so in depth. It's absolutely critical to the heliocentric religion.
The indoctrination is so powerful. 10th, is evolution changing from one kind to another? Is that the scientific theory, please?
No.
Then why'd you bring it up?
I was in the middle of a rant and Nathan took over.
Sorry.
I said to you guys before that when I was in school, I stood up against this to my teacher who was teaching it, and he says he doesn't even believe it, but he's got to teach it. And here's Anthony saying that we got to teach the kids two different viewpoints. Well, I thought the whole purpose of education was education, not reification or lies.
Yeah. I know, but don't you accept that ultimately the big question is, how did we get here? People want that question answering, right?
What, with a false dichotomy?
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, 10th, I can't help it. I'm really sorry.
No, you answered it with a false. Take over, because
this is a hot issue. I'm cutting you off. I'm just so keen. You've got good points, and that's why I'm keen. I'm doing what I get so annoyed at others doing to me. I'm sorry, 10th man.
No, it's okay. I'm just hot on this point myself because I look at this Earth and it's observably flat and motionless, and it's obvious. I could have a baller next to me, and he's going to say it's not moving, and then all of a sudden he's going to go into this false education he's had to college and say, but they tell me it's spinning. It's the same hoodwink. We have a deception going on, and we know who is the great deceiver. He showed up in the garden, and he's still running this world. He wants to keep the eyes off of God. It's so obvious. If you're going to teach school, secular school, base it on science, base it on cause and effect, base it on something you can prove, not something that is unprovable like evolution, and say, we're going to do this because the other one leads people to believe in a deity. What nonsense.
What's evolution?
It's crap.
Part of the rhetoric of a nihilist religion called heliocentrism.
But on the other hand, 10th man, if you go to school and you don't get told how the origins of mankind came to come into existence, what is the point in going to school?
My point exactly, Anthony. When school was first started, at least in the States, I'm sure in England as well, the book was the Bible. They used the Bible for school. Then they said, no, we can't do this because It's not allowing us to live a secular life. We need to bring in some other means of how we all got here, because this way, we got to repent, we got to worship a God, etc., etc. So we go to school to learn, but now we find out, well, we've always known too, but that they're lying to us. So what is the purpose of going to school if they're lying to you about your origins?
But then,
what is the purpose?
I mean, I agree in some sense. I agree, but I think for me, if I was to answer the question, what is the purpose of going to school? Ultimately, in the context of science, the question would be answered with the answer to learn where we come from. But if you're saying that we're never going to find out where we come from, or we have to accept that it was biblical or that it was creation of a non-biblical sense, then you don't need to go to school for that. You can be told that by your parents.
School is set up for indoctrination from kindergarten all the way to college. They want you to be the sheep. That is what school is set up for. They don't want you to think, be outside the box. They don't want you to say, hey, where's the transition? Where's kind producing another kind? These are the questions I asked my biology teacher. He says he doesn't even believe it, but he's got to teach it. How could a teacher teach something he doesn't believe?
Okay, here we go again.
Like
what are transitions? Hold on. You said it again. Kind converting into another kind and transitions. Is that evolution?
No such thing as a kind. No such thing as a kind. Utter gibberish.
Oh, God. So entropy doesn't apply to the Earth.
You could expose the moron.
Rumpus, what's evolution?
Well, biological evolution is the change in inheritable characteristics in successive generations.
Change isn't a mechanism like frigging hurricanes isn't a change in the weather. So
yeah, but
we're talking about
there's no
that's scientific theories.
Rumpus, shut your pie hole.
Give us the scientific theory of evolution, Rumpus.
Do you think hurricanes inherit from one another, you moron?
Oh God,
no,
you friggin' clown! My
so
point was that change isn't a mechanism. Scientific theory. To have a scientific theory, you frigging retard, you have to identify the cause and the mechanism. It was an analogy. You dumbass.
Yeah, it's a terrible analogy. Terrible analogy.
It's a terrible analogy.
Hurricanes don't give birth to similar-looking hurricanes, do they? They're separate events, completely isolated. The fact that you think they're in any way analogous just shows you have no understanding of the subject you're talking about, as usual, because you don't understand any of the subjects you talk about, because you're a moron and you're a religious zealot. You've no idea what you're talking about, and you're just driven by your wishful thinking and nothing else.
Stop, guys. Let me ask Rumpus a question. I've got on screen presented to the audience, if Nathan wouldn't mind, the definition or a definition for evolution. And it says the process by which different kinds of living organism are believed, not proved, believed to have developed from an earlier form during the history of the Earth. What evidence for evolution is there, Rumpus?
Well, we can show, for instance, do you believe that we can show, for instance, the paternity that your father's related to you? Do you think we can do that?
Is that demonstrating evolution?
Well, hold on, I'm building them now. Do you accept that we can, by DNA testing, prove that your parent is your parent?
Where'd you get DNA?
Hold on, I'm talking down to you at the moment. Do you believe
you
that
bet your ass you are?
Can DNA analysis show that your father is your father?
Yes.
You accept that? Great. So do you understand that we can take that all the way back and then say, right, the parent, the ancestor, go on, and then show the relationship? And we know the mutation rate in any individual.
Give us the experiment.
No.
Hold on. And therefore, we can show there's a relationship between animals and show that you share, for instance, you share 50%.
Hold on. We're talking science.
I'll stop in 5 seconds. I'll stop in 5
Hold
seconds.
on.
We can show that 50% of your DNA, Anthony, is in a banana. You've got 50% banana in you.
We need to demonstrate that there was ever a change in kind. That's what it says. Different kinds of living organism are believed to have developed from an earlier form. So where as an earlier form developed into a later form where they've changed kind.
Experiment, please.
Well, I mean, it's a gibberish. Well, we have, for instance, the what's the experiment where they hold loads of bacteria in jars over 30 years and they showed evolution happening there, the mutations and the selection. So we can show it's happening. We can show that it's happening. We can also things like the creation of nylon. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Or was it just E. coli?
Sorry, can you guys in the hangout please stop rumpusing rumpus? So the question when he deals with his phone call, he said that he's got an experiment, and then he segued onto nylon. So when he gets back, hopefully he'll tell us the name of the experiment.
Right, it's the Jesus Christ.
I already told you it's Lenski's E. coli, for crying out loud. He doesn't even know it.
Yes, the Lenzensky one. Well, I didn't come here prepared. I just yes.
Yeah,
so that
you
one,
didn't come
and they
prepared.
have
You're
had
a freaking retard.
four or five. Well, I think I can't remember how many jars they had of different colonies
Oh
of bacteria,
God!
And they then gradually developed the ability to consume particular foodstuff they did not genetically were able to consume initially, but because the foodstuff was around, they mutated, and until eventually they were able to evolve the ability to eat this foodstuff was around, and therefore became more stuff. Similarly with nylon-eating bacteria, there has never been nylon in the natural world until we produced it, and then the outpourings of the nylon-making factory, eventually bacteria came along that evolved to be able to eat it. But initially they couldn't.
You're full of shit.
And just by looking through the archaeological paleontology.
Yeah, here he goes again. He's just rambling over nonsensical buffoonery, right? Give us the claim. Give us the experiment.
Stop rumpusing rumpus, please. I can't even hear what he's saying.
So
I'll tell you what. I'm about sick of your shit too, Arwen. Give us the claim. Give us the experiment that validates it right now.
Well, the Lenski one you mentioned is perfect proof of the evolution of things changing over time genetically, and the definition of evolution is the change in inheritable characteristics, and those bacteria
already
the ability.
Train wrecked
you see, I know to interrupt.
So
I already train wrecked it.
Give
us the experiment along with the claim.
I've given you the experiment. The claim is that there are inheritable characteristics that change over time.
What's the hypothesis, please?
The hypothesis is that things mutate over time, and those characteristics are inherited.
Oh, what's the independent variable?
Well, time, I suppose, because it's over time.
Time is the independent variable. No, time's not an independent variable, because if time was an independent variable, it would be the cause of all things, wouldn't it now? Time is a concept, Rumpus. Did you not appreciate that?
No, you don't understand. No, you don't understand.
No, I don't understand. No, yeah, I do. Time is a concept. It's not the cause.
No, well, it is. So what? So for instance,
I guess taking my dog for a walk is an experiment.
So if I
time is the cause of everything. It's not relevant.
So if so the amount of, say, for instance, a chemical product, which is a function of the amount of time that goes on, you don't think that's the time there is an independent variable?
No, it's not that we don't think it. It's not an independent variable. Time doesn't cause anything, Rumpus.
Well, it causes everything. It's not relevant to anything.
It's a concept. Time's not causing things. That's ludicrous to assert that the IV is time. That's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley channel, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, then this is where I bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream, and of course a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Rumpus,
Time
you clown.
is a
You didn't even know
convention
what
we use to measure change.
Oh my God, here's Paul again.
That's right. But you can't
I just
use
wanted to say time is a
independent variable
convention we
because you
use to
can't
measure
exclude it.
change.
Go ahead together now, Arwen, with Paul. Right?
Three,
One, two,
one.
three. Arwen and Paul, go.
Go on, Paul.
You know, I'm also.
Time is a convention.
I don't believe it.
Oh my
Arwen,
goodness,
for the love of God, you've just literally told off somebody in the hangout for rumpusing, and then, you know, admittedly, two people have talked at the same time, QE, but then clearly he's conceded to Paul, and then I've gone, go on, Paul, and you've talked as well. So we can't hear what's being said from either of you.
Who's talked as well?
Just hold on now, QE. Go on, Paul.
I didn't say anything. I was on mute.
What? Oh, okay.
I was on mute. I wasn't talking over Paul.
Okay. Go ahead, Paul.
Time is a convention we use to measure change. That's it. There's no causal power.
Of course it has, idiot. Did chemicals, so the things like the amount of chemical reactants, the forming of chemical products, you don't think that's a function of time? Or if you want to cook something in your oven, that's a function of time?
Everything. Time causes everything.
Sorry.
You can't exclude it.
Sorry, you said that's a function of time.
A function, that's right, and it's one of the variables. Then everything in life almost always has more than one cause. And to cook, say, your chicken or your turkey in your oven requires time and heat. Similarly, for chemical products, you need the reactants and you need time. If you didn't have any time, you wouldn't have any chemical products.
Okay,
the fact
thank
you don't
you.
understand this is incredible.
So you appreciate that if you're performing science, which is what you've been asked for, you would isolate the independent variable. You appreciate that, Rumpus?
Yes, if you just have time by itself, you need something.
Just muttering.
Usually, in scientific experiments, you have multiple things. You control the other variables. You almost always have more than one cause.
No, you don't.
Yes,
it could be
almost
Sorry,
always.
hold on, guys. What does
Almost always.
It's all right. Let's get to the semantics of this. What does independent mean? While I get Rumpus by my own panel, what does independent mean, Rumpus?
Independent of other things. It is
Independent of other things. On its own, alone, singular. So not multiples then. So an independent variable is isolated from other things then. Contrary to your assertion that there are multiple independent No, that would be wrong. Not if you're performing the very controlled version of science that actually gives you some empiricism. That would require an singular, independent on its own variable.
Are you talking about an experiment?
How would you isolate time? How would you isolate time, make it independent?
How would you vary it?
Well, you don't have to. You can let it vary itself.
Okay, so we've got to the... Hold on, Paul. We've got to the definition of independent on its own, singular, alone, not being affected by other things. So what does variable mean, Rumpus?
It means it's changing.
So how are you going to change and vary time?
Because you change the time interval more, and you don't need to change the...
No, that would be monitoring the amount of time, a concept, that has elapsed based on your construct and idea of what time is. That's not varying time, is it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because
no, it isn't. That's not varying time. You'd need a flux capacitor for that now, wouldn't you, Rumpus? You can't vary time. Time is a concept, Rumpus.
You can change the time interval, can't you? I can decide how long the experiment goes on for.
And that's the cause, is it? You deciding how long something takes is an independent variable, otherwise known as a cause.
Almost all experiments refer to time interval.
Yeah, and is it the cause?
As in the value, as in today.
And is it the cause? And is it the cause?
Some experiments.
So it's the cause, is it?
It's one.
The cause. The cause is time. So time causes the chicken. Time causes the chicken in the oven, does it? If I monitor this independent variable of an amount of time, that will cause the chicken in the oven, will it, Rumpus?
All effects are the result of multiple causes of which time is one.
So if you've got multiple causes, then it's not science. You need to be able to isolate the cause of an effect, otherwise known as an independent, on its own, alone, singular, not being affected by the other things that you have, that you hold constant, and variable being the other word. Variable meaning you can vary it.
Controlled variable is. Do you know what a controlled variable in an experiment is?
Something that you hold constant. So, let me get it straight. Is time a control variable, given that it is held constant?
Is the result of multiple causes, and in an experiment, which is something you do not
just ignoring me. Is it time for you to go, Rumpus? You seem to be just talking and ignoring every question I ask you. Is it because you're scared of my questions? You're scared of my questions? Talking through my questions? Scared of them? You're scared of my questions? Scared of my questions? Terrified. It's okay. He's got a religious belief and he's terrified to answer anything, so he just talks non-stop because he thinks it's going to somehow win him a point. Talking non-stop, getting right up in his distorted ass microphone, talking non-stop, thinks he's going to win him a point for the globe. Rumpusing, thinks he's going to win some point. He's just scared to actually listen to any of my points and actually address them. Terrified. Scared little man with a distorted microphone. How embarrassing. How embarrassing for the globeheads who used to think you were their guru. That all you can do is talk through and ignore all questions. We're trying to find out if time is a constant. Is it a constant variable? So you're just going to rumpus, and I'll point out to the audience that you're rumpusing and then kick you out. So clearly you don't want to address anything that's being said. So it's time for Rumpus to leave. The question that he lost his shit over was me asking if time would be a constant, a control variable, i.e. not an independent variable, one you will vary and manipulate, not your assumed cause of any effect, but in fact a control variable, one which you will hold constant. But at that point, Rumpus absolutely lost his shit, because he knows damn well that this concept that he's applying in a non-scientific way to apply his pseudo-science rhetoric is definitely not an independent variable. His bullshit stupidity laid bare, followed by a whole bunch of rumpusing, so that it isn't pointed out that this would, at best, be considered a control variable. Time causes nothing, you complete fool.
A time duration may cause something, but that is not the concept of time itself. Concept of time cannot
Time does not cause anything. Time is a man-made convention to measure change.
It's derived. It's a derivative. It's a conceptual derivative.
It's very simple. Put a chicken in the pan and do not turn on heat, and let's see time cook it.
Right.
Why are we arguing such a stupid point?
Regardless of your application of heat, time will just be held
constant.
That's why
he was very careful to say. Sorry.
That's all right. I was just saying time will be held constant regardless of what you're doing with the potential cause of an effect you may be observing. Time's not causing anything. Paul's absolutely correct. It's just nonsense assertions from fundamentalists.
That's why your hypothesis has to be really precise, right? To see, like, to know what you're doing, and you don't go wandering around what is causing the thing. So it has to be really precise, your hypothesis.
Yeah, we didn't get that far though. I mean, this little journey of discovery that Rumpus didn't take us on started with him being asked for the scientific validity that's offered in regards to evolution. But then we get into science and what science is, and he's asserting that time is a cause because he needs time to be an independent variable in his quackery that he's going to assert about evolution. Well, he's not going to get away with time being the cause of all things and his independent variable in this non-scientific experiment that proves evolution. It's a crock of horse crap, but at the point that we're establishing that time would be at best considered a constant, a control variable, not an independent variable, he's just got to go fucking nuts. That's his only reaction. Don't let this devastating point come through! Talk non-stop! That's his only defence. Right? Will he ever listen to and then address the fact that at best it's going to be a control? Of course not.
Yeah, what he said was his proof for evolution was the bacteria in the jar. He didn't even know that it was Lenski's E. coli. And he's damn lucky that he rumpused, because I was going to tear him up. And this nihilase, let me ask you a question, Rumpus, if you're still listening.
No, he's gone.
Who was the inventor of nylon? And what did he pattern nylon from? Take a wild guess.
Time?
No.
That's hilarious.
It's going to be
amino hexanoic acid. Sounds like amino acids, doesn't it, Rumpus? You freaking clown, you. Right?
You're going to have to join the dots up with that one. I don't get that. You're going to have to join those dots together. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the inventor is Wallace Carruthers. He invented nylon, and he made it out of units of amino hexanoic acid, right? So some of these bacteria can metabolize nylon. They can eat nylon. Why? Well, they're amino acids, right? All there was in some of these bacteria was the enzyme's catalytic cleft. That is, the active site of enzymes was altered. That means, let me try to put it to you this way. You got a key lock, right? And only certain keys fit that lock. But if you bash that key lock in, open it up, a lot more keys can fit in that lock, right? So it altered the specificity of the enzymatic, the cleft in the enzyme, which allowed a lot more of the oligomers to get friggin' metabolized. That's it. Right. That's all that happened. It's Lenski's E. coli redux.
Right. And there's bacteria of all kinds, bacteria that transform rock into abiotic oil even. So it all depends on the metabolic range capabilities of the bacteria, what they're going to be digesting to reproduce.
Yeah, but this specific nylonase, this is specific to what he claimed. Right? They just this is the same thing as spectroscopy or gravity or refraction or bacteria in jars. Are you kidding me? You don't even know the name of it, right? Lenski's E. coli. Yeah. What did it develop the ability to digest, Rumpus? Can you tell me that? Can anyone tell me that?
You've already told us amino acids, right?
No, that was for nylonase.
Oh, right. No, I don't know. You'll have to tell us.
For Lenski's E. coli, what was the big deal? What was he trying to do? Or what happened?
Just going to be guessing. Nobody knows.
Anyone?
No. Tell us.
Nobody knows. Go ahead, John.
So E. coli developed the ability to metabolize citrate, whereas it supposedly could not do so before. And then they say, that's evolution. Are you aware that E. coli already possessed the ability to generate and utilize citrate in its normal oxidative metabolism of glucose and other carbohydrates?
Right, so it was just adaptation.
It's just a bullshit claim.
Yeah, they give the impression that E. coli developed the ability to metabolize citrate, whereas it supposedly could not do so before.
Right, and it was the ability was already in their spectrum.
However, this is clearly not the case because the citric acid or tricarboxylic acid or Krebs cycle, all names for the same metabolic pathway, generates and utilizes citrate in its normal oxidative metabolism of glucose and other carbohydrates. So they put citrate in there. So let's call Lenski and have the culture medium switched from glucose and citrate to glucose and, number 1, silver. Number 2, cyanide. Number 3, hydrochloric acid. Number 4, saccharin. Number 5, silicon. And then we'll whittle away the glucose and let's see what happens. You friggin' wiki parroting Discovery Channel clowns. You don't know dick.
Well, the question
Hold on, let me just give me a quick kudos. That's exceptionally deep knowledge. Well done. So, yeah, let's see it evolve to digest cyanide. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Well, the question I usually, when they bring that E. coli up to me, because I don't understand it, I don't really have to, really. You need to answer the question, was the information there already, or did evolution create the information in the cell? If they say it had to create the information in the cell, then they have to go through the mechanism to show how that information was created. If they say it's already there, then evolution is mute. Then evolution is mute.
Yeah,
Well,
the,
no, you don't
the
even have to go.
spectrum, the range
Well,
of the
go ahead.
metabolic
If you're an
abilities
expert
were
on
already in
evolution,
the design.
Darwin, go ahead and jump right in.
I just did that.
Shout out to Arwin.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, because you're the expert on evolution. Go ahead.
Well, I know how adaptation works. So if the design of that type of bacteria, the origin of it, had a very wide range of things that it can process in its metabolization, then yeah, it can adapt to any type, and it can also shrink in what it apparently can, and then swing back due to circumstance changes. So it all depends on what it was given as a blueprint within the design of it originally, where it can adapt to. That was it.
Isn't that what I just said?
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, it's called DNA, the blueprint for life. It's got all the information to be whatever it's going to be. And mutation only takes away information, doesn't add information. So mutation can cause another species.
Mutation? Why are we even talking about mutations? I asked him where he got DNA from, and he just whistled past the graveyard, right? Because he's a clown.
Yes,
that's it.
He is
a clown. He can't define evolution. He went on to his fairy tale bacteria in jars. Are you kidding me? Bacteria in jars is what you said.
Yeah, well, everybody knows that despite all the capabilities of modern technology and even what we've learned about life and how we can force it to adapt and all kinds of things, still nobody has established to create some kind of life base by itself out of nothing. Nobody's managed to actually recreate life without using life as a blueprint.
Yeah, otherwise, Frankenstein would exist.
Or get your own dirt, right?
Yeah, I was thinking
dirt.
Yeah,
I was
get your
thinking
own
of that.
dirt.
Clodhead.
Nobody's been able to create any animated type of life out of non-animated matter. Nobody's done it, despite.
Otherwise,
all
Frankenstein
these
would exist.
Yeah,
there is no.
But it was
hold on.
grafted from
It
living
seems we're going
parts.
through a white
There
hole.
is no
Hold on.
non-animated matter.
We've got about 60 seconds left, and it seems we're going through a white hole with time repeating itself. So, anybody got any closing remarks that aren't a repetition of what was said 10 seconds ago?
Yes,
white
I got
hole?
I have a closing remark. Genesis chapter 1, verse 24. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures after their kind, cattle and creeping things and beasts of the earth after their kind. And it was so. That's how it happened. Through a creator.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Oh, another massive thank you to all of today's debating panel.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!